I love to write. If I could hide myself in a room somewhere and do nothing but writing and make a living at it, that's what I would do. And I ran across a quote the other day that really hit me, and the quote said this: "The art of writing is the act of thinking, and the art of editing is the act of thinking more deeply." And I am learning that that is definitely the case in making this series of vlogs on conversations. I decided right up front they would not be longer than 5 minutes. And yet I tend to ramble on and on whenever I talk to a camera. And so when I get it into the editor and it's time to look at what I have, sometimes I have 7 or 8 minutes of footage, and I have to figure out what to cut, what has to go, and still get my message across. How can I make this cleaner? It's not an easy task. Years ago, I was part of a preaching class at Lee University, and our instructor, Dr. Luther Painter, made a very clear point by saying that anybody could preach for an hour. All you have to do is not study. But if you wanted to really hone in on your craft, it would take 1 hour of preparation for every 1 minute that you were behind the pulpit. And believe me, he was right. So why does this matter? Well, I think as we look at the changing paradigm shift of education, as we look at how we're going to adapt to whatever this new normal is, both inside the classroom and outside the classroom, we have to move from a model of assessment that asks the question, what do you know? We have to move to a model of assessment that asks the question, what do you think? And so writing does that. If the art of writing is the act of thinking, then the team evaluation rubric gives us a good starting point by expecting extended writing assignments. But we need to move beyond that. And I think here's the way to do that. So let me give you an example of what an extended assignment looks like. And typically what happens in an extended writing assignment is this. The student is going to turn in the assignment and you're going to offer some feedback. And that feedback could start off being, here are some grammatical things, here are some spelling things, here are some punctuation things. But eventually, they're going to see that making those kinds of corrections doesn't really raise their score much if your rubric is designed right. So eventually, you start to ask these questions. Here is a section of your paper, and I want you to think more deeply about this section and revise this section. And so once the student does that, they turn it back in again, and then you say, okay, so here is this paragraph, and I want you to think more deeply about this paragraph. I know what you know, but I want to know what you think in this paragraph. And so they will make that correction. And then you might wind up coming down finally to, here is a sentence. And I want you to think more deeply about this sentence. How can this sentence be more powerful? At any time during the process, the student has the choice to say, I will take the grade I have, I'm done editing. But the student also has the choice to say, you know what, I can do better. I want that to come up. That grade's on me. I want to be able to show you what I think. So the last example I'll give you is this. You give a writing assignment, and it doesn't matter if it's math, if it's science, if it's social studies, if it's PE. You've given a writing assignment to your students to explain something that they know. And so let's say, okay, I've assigned this paper, and I want it to be 3 pages. The length of the paper that you start with is irrelevant. So let's say you start with a 3-page paper and they turn that in and you've gone through some revision processes, and now you say to them, I want you to rethink this paper, and I don't want it to be any more than 2 pages. I want it to say exactly what you've said here. I want to know exactly what you know. I want to know exactly how you think about this, but you've got to take out all of the stuff that doesn't lead me there. Find that stuff and make this paper shorter. And if you will do one of those 2 things with your students in the coming year, I know you will get to the point of moving beyond this is what I know to this is what I think. And that's a much more powerful paradigm to grade.